Welcome back to another episode of IndieFilm Insider. My name is Onkar, DP and producer here with
Jake Rossbell, a writer and director, and today we talked with Kyle Miller.
Kyle's a DP, director, and colorist whose senior thesis film, For Old Time's Sake, just premiered at the J Street Film Festival in Sacramento. He brings both a thoughtful and intentional approach to both the creative and technical aspects of filmmaking.
In this episode, we talk about how he's going to expand For Old Time's Sake into a feature film and why now is the right time to do it both personally and practically.
We talk about how he's going to transform the short that he just made into a feature and why the traditional model of making a short that's essentially a billboard for the feature or ending on a cliffhanger maybe isn't as good as a lot of people are making it out to be.
Kyle also shares insight on collaborating with cinematographers, building a lean shot list, and how to not stay distracted when you're working on your vision.
The last thing is we talk a lot about AI, film theory, and a couple things that traditional student filmmakers are messing up when they're going into their short films. Now, without further ado, let's hop into our conversation with Kyle Miller. All right, Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, my friends.
Of course, yeah, we're really excited to talk with you, kind of get to know the process behind your films more and kind of what you do and kind of how you do it. Before we hop in, can you just introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do? What's your role in the world of film?
My name is Kyle Miller. I'm a filmmaker from Sacramento, Orangeville, really. That's the hometown. And yeah, I think I'm an artist first, I would say. And that's a very important aspect to my filmmaking. But yeah, I've been doing like some freelance stuff. I think a lot of us are used to that, like videography type thing. But my main goal is to make narrative films, narrative shorts, and then we're prepping for the first narrative feature at the moment. So.
Oh yeah, and then film it, like your main role, the main thing you're interested in is directing.
Oh, directing, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like almost insane how like I've been on sets for plenty of things, but like if you know me, you're like, yeah, he's a director. Like it's kind of always been my vibe.
Sick.
But yeah, also CSUS Sacramento alumni as of a week or two ago. So
Yeah, congrats.
Ooh, congrats.
Thank you very kindly.
So, is it Hornets?
Hornets, yeah,
Go
stingers
Hornets.
up. Yeah, that was a crazy commencement. It was off the hook, but
It's cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned going into a feature. I know about this, of course, and as does Jake, but for anyone watching who isn't aware, what is this feature that you're working on, the feature that you're trying to produce?
Yeah, so For Old Time's Sake is the name, and we just did a short film that's kind of, you can call it a proof of concept, but it's really a film of its own. But yeah, it is the real culmination of all of my work, really. Like if you've seen any of my films and you're a fan of them, like this will be like up your alley, you know what I mean? It's very me film, but yeah, we're bringing a bunch of artists and people together from the greater Sacramento area, especially like Orangeville and places like that, and we're putting together a feature that I'm very passionate about. I've had this idea for the last 4 years. And now it's like finally coming together because I've just like a lot of the films I've been doing have been to prep for this film. Like there's subtext, there's themes in those films that it's like I'm trying to try them out before I get to this because I want to like be competent, and competence is hard. So
of course, yeah. I guess you kind of a little bit answered this, but what do you feel like now is like the time? Because of course there are a lot of people out there who have feature films in their back pockets, like scripts that they've written. We've talked to people who've had upwards of like 8, 9, 10 feature film scripts written, but they've never been able to actually go into production with them. Whether they feel like, oh yeah, it's just not the time yet. What do you feel like now is the time for your feature?
Question. So there's like a bunch of different reasons. There's spiritual or like mental reasons, and then there's like practical reasons. And on the practical side of things is I just obviously got out of college. If people are willing to, you know, work for free or not even that, but just like kind of put their nose to the grindstone and like try things out, it's now. It's not going to be later because people are going to have kids and have like a life. You know what I mean? So like it's kind of in order to make an indie feature, you have to have some sort of like, I don't know, ease of access. So, yeah, the time is now. Like, I feel like it's kind of, not to say it's not up for debate, but it's just like, it's made itself very clear to me. And then, like, a lot of the plot elements are just like so hot off the press, I guess, and just like a lot of this film is very personal, and that's like not a secret, but yeah, like delving into that, I'm not like willing to wait. You know what I mean? Sometimes
Sure.
it's just stubbornness, which is motivating to get things done. Also, just the time we're in with the industry. Like if you look around you, the democratization of things, I guess, and just like yeah, like if you have like an FX3, you can do a lot. Like
Yeah.
for real, that camera can shoot anything, or for the most part, you know. But there's yeah, like there's all the technical things are there and all the people are there, so it wouldn't make any sense not to do it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like that's very similar to. I hear a lot of people say like, if you want to be an entrepreneur and start a business, do it when you're in your mid-20s and have no kids and no family that relies on you succeeding.
So you can fail.
Yeah, no, literally.
Yeah.
Like Alex Hormozy, I think if you know who
Oh,
he
yeah,
is, he
yeah.
talks about this a lot.
Mizzy.
It's like, yeah, if you're gonna fail, do it when you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I ain't
like if
got
you have a
nothing to lose.
mortgage and kids, you have something to lose.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just live in a like trailer, dude. I'll be fine.
Yeah, literally. Fuck it.
You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Did you have the idea for the short first or for the feature?
the feature.
Feature.
So the short was a matter of, I mean, I had to make like a short. I didn't have to like direct one, but for my senior class, and I was like, I can't like wait any longer. Like it was that up front in my mind. I was like, I have to start working on this in some way or another. And I found a way that got at some of the concepts and themes of the film through a short. And like it's important to recognize that like yes, people make like short films as proof of concepts, and that's part of the deal. But this is I think it's a cool film. Like it exists on its own. It doesn't need the feature to. You can watch the short and you're like, oh, I got that film. The feature will be taking a lot of those ideas but making a different film with it. So
how much of the short will become the feature, you think? Is it like 60% similar, 80% similar, or is it like almost like a completely different story?
I mean the story is the heart of the story, the people in it will remain practically the same. It'll just be expanded upon a lot, and then their relationships will go through a lot more trial and stuff like that. But as far as like the practical elements, you know what I mean, or like where the plot like lines up could totally be different. I mean, we had the first rough cut of the short was 17 minutes or 16 minutes.
Oh wow.
So and part of that was we had to get down to 10 minutes, and part of it is I didn't want it to be 16 minutes. So my strategy with the rough cuts is to make it like incredibly long so that you see everything.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, this is what we need to get rid of for this film to work.
Yeah, almost like pasting all the string outs, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Walter Murch, I believe, said it's cutting off the umbilical cord, like you're delivering a baby, and like you had the umbilical cord to feed the baby and like do all the stuff that needs to happen for it to exist. But at some point, you gotta cut that umbilical cord and get rid of the stuff that's not helping you anymore. So.
I think that's interesting. Where did the idea come from? Do you remember like the exact moment where you're like you had zero concept of For Old Time's Sake? Like do you remember like just before you had the idea? Like was it a scene? Was it a feeling? Was it a image? Because I have one feature film that I wrote, and the reason why I wrote it stems from this one image I had of this like one particular shot. I was like, that'd be a really cool shot. And then I kind of built this. It's actually the last shot of the film. And then everything just builds backwards from there.
Right.
So like for you, is it like a scene? Is it an image? What is the story of For Old Time's Sake?
It's like concepts. So like some people talk about ideas as though they like compound. So you get like little ideas. Like my idea for the feature like years ago was like not what it is now. You know what I mean? Part of it, and what's cool about this film and the almost documentarian aspect of it is because it's so personal. Like those life events, kind of troubling life events, like had happened to me, and your brain is like trying to wrap your head around that. And so, in doing that, like there's the time travel element of the film. Like that is something like when you lose a person, you're trying to you wish you could go back or whatever, wish you could change things. And that just compounded like, oh, I would love to, visit some of my ideas from my older films, which were, I mean, obviously in the context of things junk,
Yeah.
but like, oh yeah, like the sci-fi themes in my old films. And then one day I was just like listening to music, and I was like, boom, there it is. It's just, it wasn't always a VHS tape. I won't give away too many plot details, but that like used to be, I didn't even know, like a refrigerator or whatever. Like I just needed a time travel device. So.
Yeah, for the short film All Time Sake, which you just showed us, I thought it was great, by the way. It was
Thank you.
amazing
fantastic.
film. It just played at the recent J Street Film Festival, which is a kind of a thesis show off for the Sac State graduates. Are you planning on putting it in the circuit?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The film festival circuit.
Yeah. We're submitting. We're shooting high for it. So I'm not like relying on that, which is like the place to be in. But that would be like amazing. And I've got to learn so much about the festival circuit as of late, because I wasn't always that like into it, or like at least relying upon it. I saw a showing of some of the Sundance shorts, and a programmer was there, and that was like, all right, I want to submit to places. Like this is actually a good time.
What's the most like Hail Mary festival you're actually submitting it to? Like, are you putting it in Sundance?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't want to name names, but yeah, the hot button ones that like you're thinking of, for the most part are there. We're just not like, I want to strike the balance of like working on the feature and like pushing the short.
Sure.
And that means like not like spending too much money because I mean festivals are expensive.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hit like a good variety to where like we're hitting regionals, we're hitting like the ones that go on the news, and what happens. I'm not like, I think it would be just an amazing thing, like truly, and it would mean obviously a lot to me, and I think it'd mean a lot for this community. And it's totally possible. Like a professor of mine had a film at Sundance. There's another individual in SAC, I believe, that had a film in Sundance. Like it's not like a fantasy. Don't let yourself be limited to like, me and this are like different things.
That's true.
Yeah. And then there is also the aspect of like, if it gets into like South by or Sundance or whatever, and then a producer sees it like, yo, this was great, and you're like, hey, so we're actually entering production in like a month. You got money you want to throw our way to help us do it?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know having the feature script, and not even necessarily of the one that you've shown, which is like a feature script in your back pocket, if somebody does inquire about like, hey, what are you doing next, is like always a good film, always a good idea at this bigger festival.
Yeah, I think to your point on like having another feature, like the short film model of like going from a short film to a feature is kind of like, I don't want to say dead, but it's like pretty close to like you had like Whiplash and stuff like that do it, but like a lot of programmers, at least the few I've talked to, have told me like, we don't like taking like shorts that are supposed to be features because it feels like it's not telling the full story on purpose. And that's the thing to make clear about this film is like the feature and the short are different films. Like the short is by far like a complete package. Like it's not leaving you on a cliffhanger, really. It has an ending. It's like pretty clear how it ends. But the feature will just be a different thing. It'll be a different project. It's just kind of under the same name.
So were they saying that like a lot of the shorts who want to be features kind of like do leave them on a cliffhanger, like trying to bait people to
that can be problematic because it's like, I mean, if you're a festival runner, especially if you're showing shorts, which is like in its own as an art form is like kind of like not paid attention enough to. You don't want to be like constantly going into the feature pipeline. Like you want to show complete short films, which are great. Like there are amazing short films out there that'll change your life watching them. But if everyone's just making a short to make a feature, it's like, well, just make it feature, bro. You know what I mean? But make the short and store it in your basement and make your feature. So yeah, there's a purpose to the short beyond just like a proof of concept for the feature. I'm proud of it. I think it's my best film. You never know.
Yeah.
But me
Yeah.
it is anyway.
Yeah, because it's interesting because like a lot of the time, like making short films and making feature films are like kind of different skill sets.
Yeah.
Like being able to tell a complete story, maybe not like act 1, act 2, act 3 type thing, but like being able to introduce characters and wrap up some sort of conflict they're dealing with, or something that they're doing in 10 minutes, 8
Yeah.
minutes, even after like 20 if you're whatever, but like
Mhm.
being able to do that is difficult. And like I almost wonder if sometimes the programmers might be looking at it and like, okay, he made a really good short, but will he be able to make a feature?
Right.
Like I wonder if
Yeah,
they
it's
think
it's a
that.
totally different skill set in a lot of ways. Ultimately, you're making a film still, and that's what I like to think about is like, I've made at least 20 short films, maybe 25 at this point, and those are those are not school projects, like
Yeah.
me outside, making films that I release as short films. So like I feel at a point of competency where I'm like, if there's a time, it's now. But yeah, like shorts is like a different challenge. It can be just as challenging as a feature in some ways. But you set yourself up well with the writing.
Mhm.
Like you can make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
Like on the page, to where you're not tripping as much when
Yeah.
you're shooting.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, because we've only done shorts. I mean, I guess everyone here in this
Mhm.
at this table has, but like, I think that's kind of Owen and I's plan is to sort of like work our way up into that. So the next,
Mhm.
the one that you helped us color grade, that one's like I think 15, 16-ish minutes.
Yeah, totally.
And we're just trying to like slowly get more and more up there. I don't really like making short films that are like above 15 really. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels
Good.
like because we talked with a festival like director,
Mhm.
Mr. Martin Anaya.
Yep, Martin.
Yeah, we talked with him on the podcast, and he basically said like, yeah, if you're gonna make a short film that's 15 minutes long, like, why should we give you that space? That's like such
Yeah.
a long block of
Huge,
time.
man.
So I don't like doing that, but the next one we have is I think like 20-ish pages, the one that I wrote, and then I think after that we're like have like a couple other things we want to do,
Mm.
and then yeah, I think we're kind of ready to start getting a feature made, but. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of our way to go about it, and at least for now is just like work our way up there, and
Right.
at least maybe the films don't have to be like literally longer, just more complex production wise.
Yeah.
Because obviously like we did one with Phoenix as well, which it's
Spear.
yes, Mr. Phoenix Brewer. We'll talk about him later.
Oh, yeah.
I have some tea. No, I'm kidding. He's chill. But yeah, no, I think that like. With that film with Phoenix, it's just like a very simple. It's like a 2-character film that's like 10-ish minutes long.
Yeah. Yep.
And like the one that we just did has like multiple
Oh, yeah.
characters, has a bunch of different locations. And that's obviously way more challenging. And I don't know. That's kind of our mantra is just to make it more complex every production. I don't know like what your what's your like rehearsal or like what's your like how do you practice to make that feature?
Oh yeah, I mean it kind of depends on what your goals are with your style of filmmaking too. Like a lot of my earlier shorts are like super complex. That was like my whole thing. What helped me get to a point of competency with the more complex crazy stuff, as you saw in this film, it's not exactly like a realist piece.
Mhm.
Is by limiting it. So that's that first thing for me. Like when I believe you might have been at the J Street that had the plug.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole point of that film for me, as far as like, besides making a cool film, was like limit it, like to where he doesn't speak really. He has like a few lines, right? The great Phoenix Brewer.
The man himself.
And he's like wandering through an elementary school, like about to do a drug deal. But it's just the hallways and stuff like that. So I think, especially if, say, surrealism is not maybe the most accurate term, but if you're making like films that are set in reality but have weird stuff going on, you can't just focus on the part of it. Like you gotta get real at a certain point. So
Yeah.
using the tools to get real with your films, and a lot of the times that means getting less complex, like focusing on the basic elements, having a smaller shot list, big time. And I hugely advocate for the smaller the shot list, the better, because that means every like shot, whether you're putting in a storyboard, you're like focusing on the composition. Like, how does the composition help tell this story, not just like how does it fit into an editing sequence? You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you actually went to the bathroom, Owen and I kind of talked shit behind your back. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
we talked kind of about like just making a film like the one that you made.
Mm-hmm.
That I would imagine that you have to have all that like thought process for the editing kind of while you're making it, because like it has to be shot. Like if, for example, if you gave me the script and then I shot the film and then you try to edit it the way you wanted to, it probably will like not really. It just that voice would get broken up because like it's two voices now instead of like the one continuous voice all the way through. So I mean, is that a huge thing too? Like when you're directing, do you constantly think about the post-production and everything that goes into it afterward?
Yeah, yes and no. You want to give yourself some liberty with post-production because that's where the film is made.
Yeah.
It's not made. I mean, it's kind of made when you're shooting, but it's made when you edit the film. That's just. But yeah, knowing the effects of the imagery you are putting onto the film is like huge, because that's what the art form at its like most basic core level is. Like, I know we talk about like audio and stuff like that a lot, but there was a time when films didn't have audio in it. It was just moving images, and that was the most basic element of the art form. So yeah, to your point about like the one vision, my style of filmmaking, I exhibit, I don't want to say like control over everything, but like there's a very not strict, but like there's a very strong vision.
Yeah.
And it is followed through on set, and I do my best to do that. And that has a huge part to do with the cinematographer. When I have DPs on set, I've made plenty of films that, because directing actors is huge and important, but the art form is film. It's not theater. And like I don't have interest in theater, you know what I mean? So telling the story utilizes the form in big ways. And that's kind of my new obsession, is like how the apparatus, they call it, of film, whether it's the shots, the camera, and all that stuff, affects the whether it's the plot, the narrative, or the ideology of the film itself. So yeah, like if I look at the camera and I don't like the shot and it's not going to service the film, I'm gonna ask to change it. You know what I mean?
How close was the final product of the short film you just did to the vision that you had in your head?
Oh, dude, pretty close actually. It just like it's very interesting. There's a scene at the very beginning that has some imagery at a gas station, the Orbit gas station in Orangevale. Shout out to them. They're like always chill with me shooting there. It's like a beautiful location, just these spires, like the fake UFO gas station. And it was insane how like smooth that shoot went. We had like a couple shots to get, and everything was like from my head to the screen. It's like perfect. No issues in between. So it's plausible. It just requires a lot of like trial and error and hard work.
That's got to be so satisfying. Just like it's just exactly the way. It's like almost like they put a camera in your brain and like filmed your memory or filmed your vision of it.
Exactly. That was like my best shooting day ever, because we didn't have that many shots to get. Just we were required a certain amount of hours for like a class.
Minimum hours?
Yeah. It's like you have to do 12 hours per 2 pages. So which happens a lot in the industry. It's just the way it is, you know. They gotta give something to grade on, but we only had, because we shoot more efficiently than 12 hours per 2 pages. Like we didn't have much to get that day, and it was just like, oh, that was the best shoot day ever.
So if you have a 10-page script, they require you to be on set for 60 hours.
Yeah, something like that. I think as far as, because these classes are based off like the Hollywood standard, not IndieFilm Insider.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Name drop.
Yeah. That is like seen as like common and like what needs to happen. and I'm a big proponent of that not being true.
Yeah, that's all well and good when you don't have to pay your cast and crew, you know?
Yeah, well, and like if you have a $200 million budget, like sure you could be shooting 2 pages every 12 hours, and it's like super easy pace.
Mhm.
But in our field, or in indie filmmaking, it's not like it's not for me anyway. It can happen if you have extensive shot lists, but I just think that's a bad way to shoot a film. So
Yeah.
in my experience, like I want to say For Old Time's Sake was maybe 70 shots for a 10, or really at the beginning a 16-minute film. So it was pretty I think that might even be exaggerating how many shots it was. Bare bones, and that's the way I like it. And
Yeah, because
Goes
ours, the one that you helped us grade, I
Mhm.
study people for a living. I think that ended up being a little over 100 shots
yeah, and you got a longer
Um,
film.
for. What was the rough cut? Like 19, 18?
It was like 1940. It was basically 20.
Mm,
Yeah. So 100 shots for.
that's a good place to be. There's so many student filmmakers that just shoot everything because you have SD cards and not film stock. So that is like a huge issue. Just my kind of belief on like how I shoot these films, it makes life easier, not harder. Like that's the whole. Because if you're making your life like you're just all about the hustle of filmmaking, okay? I gotta hustle. Like everything's got to be hard and everyone's got to have a terrible time on set. It's like, why? Like, just get a corporate job. Like, there's other things that will make you more money than film, dude.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? Like especially short films. There are opportunities for short films to make money, but I mean, don't bet on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, like especially for indie filmmakers that have to deal with so much stuff to begin with, make your life easier. Don't try to be Hollywood. That's a big thing. Because it's not like it's going all that well there right now anyway.
That's true.
Why try to be that?
Yeah.
There's this like awesome quote. It's actually like this writer in like the civil rights era, but she said like you can't use the master's tools to tear down the master's house. Just such a like apt quote. Like if you're trying to provide an indie alternative to Hollywood, then don't shoot your film like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
I know you guys just did like a podcast on like all the film roles.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know all that.
Right, yeah.
Like it's not worth my time to know all of that because it's not gonna help me. Like I don't have the budget to have 50 people or whatever on set. So especially now with like the equipment we use, I mean like an LED light, dude. My mom can plug in an LED light. You know what I mean? Anyone can. Like it's you just need to, I don't know, find people that are passionate about what they're doing first and foremost.
Yeah.
And have a level of competency for sure.
No, for sure. And yeah, indie filmmaking is such a different. It doesn't even feel like the same stuff as like some of the Hollywood level of production. Like. And you're right. Like this setup is just two cameras, 3 mics, and a light. And like that's kind of like what I don't know, even on our sets, like our stuff is like relatively simple for like it looks great and like it's not like a massive Hollywood crew behind it,
No, anything more than that is such diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Like when they're throwing up those massive like 50-foot like silks and whatnot, that's for like a very small part of or they're like trying to get like this huge area like softened for the film. It's like that's not us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm honestly so glad because that's not what I got into this for. Like I said, I'm like an artist first, you know what I mean? When everything's such a like factory,
yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah, I don't like when I agree. I don't like when it's like super easy too. Like there should be challenges. Like if you need to like set up this crazy elaborate setup to get like one shot, I think you should just change the shot. Or like find like a creative workaround that doesn't involve like this crazy like setup, Like I think a lot of the stuff in Hollywood promotes lazy filmmaking as opposed to making it like better, if that makes sense. I feel like at a certain point it just kind of gets worse.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's not, especially now, it's not really like an artist's place.
Yeah.
They're not really, and I don't think that there's any like hiding that. I mean, there's obviously plenty of exceptions, like great filmmakers who are able to survive throughout this, but like with the whole AI thing and just like making AI movies, it's like dog. Like
Right, yeah.
it's literally not art. Like the like AI art, there's no such thing as AI art. It is antithetical to what art is. It's produced by humans. So yeah, anything like that is just so dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Does AI scare you?
I mean, yeah, I think it doesn't, like, everyone expects it to scare them like a Terminator way, but that's not what's gonna happen. And it's arguably like you'd expect like AI to be like doing like fast food jobs, but we're doing fast food jobs and AI's making movies. Like, dude, the things that make you human, like leaving that up to like a system, a computer or whatever, and just like abandoning it, that's like really bad, dude. Like, not good. Blade Runner type stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll become a big issue. Like, especially, I don't know if you guys have seen the new like Google VO3 or whatever.
The one that just came out.
It's like, yeah.
It looks like very like hyper realistic.
Yeah,
like
yeah. So, people have to be ready for like an AI model that's interchangeable with footage and still be able to recognize that it's worthwhile to have a human being and their thoughts make something.
Yeah. I mean, I think because also like art is just a thing that's been around with humanity since like the beginning of humans. Like some of the oldest stuff we have of humans is just art, like little cave paintings or like little statues, little like figurines, little dolls. Like going back just as far as possible. It's always been a part of humanity, and I don't think that'll change with AI. I think it might. Sorry, I think it will. I think it will change, but I don't think it will stop. I think there will always be a demand for, at least hopefully, ideally.
Exactly. Like, we can only do what we can.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think a lot of it is like, because people thought digital was gonna kill cinema. It's like there is a, I guess, worry to be had that you'll kind of know what I'm going with. It's like the democratization of the art form in a way produces on average worse films.
Yeah.
Because now any idiot can pick up their iPhone, shoot it in log, and be like, oh my god, look guys, I made a film.
Cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it'll almost be the same thing with AI, where a 13-year-old kid will type in a prompt into Google, be like, look guys, I made a movie.
Yeah, make a bunch of junk.
Yeah, on average, more stuff will get popped out, and the kind of mean quality in terms of story will just drop and drop and drop.
Yeah, and you'll have to sift through it. It's almost like a bookstore. Like, have you guys been to bookstores, or like bookstores in like airports and like looked at the books that they have? It's like, this is not Shakespeare. Like, there's so many, like, for every Shakespeare there's like a billion different like rom-coms or whatever that just someone wrote, you know what I mean?
Because now every idiot can write a book, and now every idiot can make a film.
A lot of idiots do, right? Or make films too. Like, so the alternative to that is just having like ideas that are, I don't know, revolutionary or like different. And that's what I'm trying to do with this film, and provide an alternative to like that. And it doesn't have to be AI, but that kind of dehumanizing model. So for oldtimesake.movie.com.
Hell yeah.
That's
linked in description.
Yeah. Dope. But yeah, super, I mean, you should be scared. Like, at art being around since the beginning of humanity, it's super dehumanizing to like remove that from people and make that like basically something that's unviable. So
yeah, my thing is that you should be scared if you have nothing original to present.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a thing like AI can only be trained off things that currently exist, so that can't make any original ideas.
Right.
So Hollywood be terrified, but
yeah, when you're making the same movie every year.
But yeah,
And it's also an interesting question though. Can a human make an original idea? Because everything you see
Yeah.
and everything you do is based off of something that you learned. Like when we're like the language we're speaking in now, we didn't make the language. We learned it, and we have our own way to go about it. But
Yeah, there is like a major aspect to that, and everyone who writes a film like fights that because they'll think like, oh, this is kind of like that one film or whatever.
Yeah.
Every time someone says like, oh, this reminds me of this, I'm like, I don't ever want to watch that ever.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather
yeah.
just not do it. That's why I kind of encourage people to watch less movies. Because when you go to film schools and you see young students, some of them are brilliant, they watch like 4 movies a day and they don't make anything.
Yeah.
And that is like very problematic.
Yeah, there's this guy. I have him on Letterboxd. I used to go to elementary school with him though, and he's in a. He's currently. He doesn't watch this, so we're good. He won't sue me.
Haters,
But he literally is in film school, and he will add like 5 new films every week that he's seen, and it's always these like French films from like the 30s, and they're just he's like, oh, this is so great, this is so the mise en scene, oh my god, like and I'm like, you did like you've done one film in the last 3 years, like dude, like stop watching, like spend that time making films.
There's value to watching great films, and I think there's more value to like watching a French New Wave or like something that like will totally, because you can watch Hollywood junk anytime. Like there's plenty of it available to you, and there's plenty of decades of it. So it's very good to like, especially even with short films, it's not that much of your time, abstract your thinking as far as what a film can do. But yeah, I think it's a much bigger issue now that people watch too many movies, and that stifles their creativity because you end up becoming derivative. There's like a little Orson Welles like clip from back in the day where he talks about this exact thing where it's like all these films nowadays are super derivative or whatever. And yeah, I've seen tons of people that do watch a lot of movies, and their first short film, I'm like, that's like out of a movie. Like I've seen that before. Like, you know what I mean? So strongly encourage that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like also we showed a couple of people the script for I Said People for a Living before we actually went into production on it. And someone who was helping us out, he read the script. He's like, yo, this seems just like You, a Netflix show. There were a couple of like obvious like comparisons that he brought up. One was You, one was Following by Nolan. And I made it a point to explicitly not watch those before going into it. Not even necessarily to stifle, because I think it'll stifle the creativity, but more so like so I don't inadvertently copy anything that they did. Because I had ideas for how I was going to do the cinematography going into that, and I didn't want to watch that and be like, oh my god, that's a cool shot. I'll write it down on my shot list and just copy it verbatim. I feel like a lot of people do the opposite. Whether it's like, oh, I have an idea for this, let me go watch a couple of related films and see if I can make something similar. They turned out well for them. I'm gonna do what they did.
Yeah, there's aesthetic and production things that you can learn from other films if you avoid that kind of aspect. So like a good example is like one that a lot of indie filmmakers should look at, and I'm looking at a lot for this film, is like a Napoleon Dynamite. Like that film is shot so minimally. Like people don't think about it because it almost became just like a household name. You could interchange it with like, a Hollywood movie, but it's like shot so like punk rock, like indie.
Yeah.
So it's good to have representations of how you can produce something like in a smart way, and that's possible for you. But like, yeah, man, when you're just overwhelmed with everyone's ideas, it's like you also just get the feeling it's like, why should I even make anything? There's plenty of movies out there.
Yeah.
Like if you go into like, I don't know if you guys know about like The Cave, great store, or just like a movie. They don't have movie stores anymore. The Cave is the only place I know of. It's like they have like records and movies. If you go in there and you go to like the DVC section, you're like, oh my gosh, there's enough movies out there. You know what I mean? So it will like, oh my gosh, why do I even make movies? Look at how many DVDs are just sitting with dust on them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Iron Man 2 or whatever. So there's plenty of content out there.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
an
that's
infinite amount.
Sort of like the old saying of like, there's just nothing new under the sun. Like everything that could have ever been made has already been made.
Yeah, what's
the most part.
new is you. Like,
Yeah.
as a human being, your individuality. That no one can ever recreate that. No computer AI can ever recreate that. So if you're able to stick to that and to your brain and all that, you'll have success, I think. Unless we're all like doomed, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Find shelter, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. We get
Yeah.
nuked.
Yeah. There's, you know.
Is there anything that you see, like maybe people who are just starting out or student filmmakers do that you think is kind of leading them? I know you've already mentioned the keeping the
watching
shot
too many-
list tight,
Yeah, that.
stuff like that. But is there like, hey, I'm kind of starting out. Maybe I've made 1 or 2 films. What are some things that I can really improve on going into this next one?
So watching movies can be an important way for you to recognize how to shoot something differently. Also, not to like say you need to go to film school, but there is an academic perspective to film that is worthwhile. Theory specifically, like learning a bit about the theory. And then yeah, like not expecting your next film to go to Sundance because it's not. Typically, I mean, you know, you might be brilliant or whatever, but
Right.
just at a certain point you just gotta shoot a bunch, like shoot 20 films. I think Robert Rodriguez said something like, what is it, like 100 films or something like that. I forget the exact number, like 30.
Yeah.
I don't know, but shoot a lot of films. Ultimately, is the thing there. And like take a break, look at it like cohesively, like where does this fit in to theory and how am I working correctly with actors, and then shoot another one.
Yeah.
And yeah, stop watching so many darn movies. Unless you don't watch enough, then watch more. But there's like a level to it. Like if you're, I don't know. I don't have the correct metric for everyone, but like 1 a week's probably good. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
It's different for everyone.
2 a week, you know. And also the phase that you're in. Like I know after the feature for sure, and even before then, I'll be watching a lot more movies because it's like I'm not hustling as much with the shorts because I built that competency. But, you know.
Do you think it took you all 25 shorts to build the competency?
It took me a lot more than that because it was years of life experience, shooting thousands of videos. I mean, I'd imagine I've shot thousands of videos since I was like 8. You know what I mean? Because once I was 8 years old, I was making videos like every day. Like that was my thing. It was video, or film. I mean, yeah. So it takes a lot of work, like getting to, if someone ever tells you like in the industry or a professor or whatnot that you're competent, that's like a huge compliment. That's the best compliment I've ever got. It's like, this is competent work. And maybe AI can make competent work in like 5 seconds, but you know what, it's not human. So
yeah, we're talking about a little bit about this before we started the podcast, but I've watched a lot of student films, so has Jake, and we're kind of noticing a trend where some of the films with maybe higher production value are almost have a little less of a soul, and some of the ones with maybe lower production value have a bit more that they want to say. You mentioned you have a theory behind why this is. Do you think you know why?
There is, you can almost look at like the archetypes of film people, like the people who watch a bunch of movies, or the gear bros, you know what I mean? The people that are obsessed with gear, is that gap is not being bridged to where it's like, as soon as you spend all your time thinking about the gear, you have lost why you're making the movie in the first place. So it is good to build that technical ability so like people can watch your films and not have their eyes hurt, but you have to have a reason for doing what you're doing besides making money. Or you can just make corporate videos, which is fine. Do that, please.
Yeah.
Because it'll make everyone's life easier. They don't have to watch this. But yeah, as soon as you get hyper focused on the gear and the idea that you are a filmmaker, like you totally lose why you're doing this in the first place. Like it's cool to have an identity as a filmmaker, but if you learn that like you just like the idea of holding a camera and like shooting and stuff like that, it's like, you know, it's not the point. It's not the purpose.
Or just be a DP.
Yeah, or just be if you're like if you want to be a DP or something like that, you know, obviously there's a different set of rules there, but for directors for sure, it's like you can't be gear focused. And some, I think, especially when people are like grouping up, like some gear hawks are just trying to grab any director. I've never shot anything before. It's like, well, you'll do because I need to use my big beefy camera to shoot something. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've seen that a lot too, like a film that just like looks super nice, but other than that, it's not that great. And
Yeah.
I do agree, it probably is just because like those people, when you put your resources into one area and you go fucking like full send in that one spot, it's just everything else is gonna suffer from that.
Yeah.
I try to like, I don't know, I just try not to. It helps a lot because Owen is more like of the technical. Owen's more of the all the stuff that's there, and there is an art to that too. And I don't want to make it sound like being a DP is,
and that's what I was gonna say about a DP is like there's very much still an art form there.
Yeah,
if you're just obsessed with the gear, you're not gonna be a good DP either because you're just gonna be like, oh, this light shoots 10,000 watts. What the heck?
Yeah.
Look how bright it is. It's like,
yeah.
What are you lighting?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Just if you're at that point, just go fucking shoot like some real estate videos. Or something,
or like
you know?
develop technology or something like that. Like if you're a tech bro,
and that's also like totally valid too. Like that's completely fine. It's just
you'll make more money doing that.
Yeah,
like legit. It's just not. It's not the same thing.
Yeah,
and there needs to be like understanding of that sometimes.
Yeah, no, for sure. And no, I think that always helps. That helps me at least. The idea that like, I'm not trying to say Owen's like only a technical person. He's not. He's not at all. But it's nice to like not think about it too much. It's nice to have someone else who knows how to competently operate all the stuff that you can. Because if I'm like super worrying about all the like very minor things with like the camera and the lights and stuff, like I have a lot of, you know, if I look at the monitor, I'm like, oh, that looks bad. Like I'll say that, but I'm not like gonna fine tune every like little pixel and every little thing in the, you know, that's a waste of time. And there's you got actors, you got like crew that you're directing. Like there's a lot of you just can't be bothered at a certain point.
Man.
There's a threshold though, like you can a little bit, but yeah, I agree. It's just it's a resource thing.
Right, and if you aren't focused on like what new cameras coming out or whatnot, you can build a technical competency that's pretty good in you know, not too much time. Like there's a lot of like trial and error for sure, but like you can learn how to use a camera, man.
Yeah,
like it's totally doable. And with the democratization outside of AI, because that's not democratization, that's like bastardization, but of like an FX3 that you can buy, or like heck, you can go on like Facebook Marketplace and get like a Sony A6300 for probably like $300. Like that's better than like historical cameras, you know what I mean? Like films shot in the 70s and 80s might not look as good as a Sony A6300 you can get on Facebook Marketplace, if you shoot it right. But you can't focus too much on the gear, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of gear, what camera do you shoot? I think an FX3.
Yeah, the FX3, man.
Yeah.
It's just such like a ease of use thing. It's not hard to use, and like I'll be on camera a lot because like for the handheld stuff, I'm like I want to see this. Like I want to. Especially when it's like a personal thing, it's like I'm carrying the apparatus that's producing the film. And dude, I mean, obviously everyone makes a big whoop about the creator being shot in FX3, but not that needs to prove anything. Plenty of movies have been shot on like, I think Lynch shot like on like HD, like heck, the Star Wars movies, the prequels were shot on like 1080p cameras. Yeah.
They look like shit, but anyways.
Yeah, but you can still watch them, and like plenty of people enjoy them, obviously. So yeah, the FX3 is great. Like we pieced together the money to like make that happen. I had an FX30, which is like it's like almost there, but there had to be a reason for using the FX3, and it was one, the low light, and two, when you're using a camera, like build a rationalization for why that camera works for the story. So, oh man, I used for old time's sake, Canon FD vintage lenses, which is like some of my favorites. But you can get those on like they're 35 millimeter film photo camera lenses. So they're just adapted with like rings and stuff like that to work with with a cinema rig.
Yeah.
And that's like this exact size of the full frame 35 millimeter sensor of the FX3. So it's like this film, which is all about like home media, is imitating the look of the highest form of home media, which is 35 millimeter still film.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to the gear stuff, and that's also where the disconnect is you have to build a rationalization for why you're using this gear. And more often than not, you're using more gear than you need to be using. So yeah, an FX3 and some sticks, dude, you can shoot a lot with that.
Yeah.
And some nice lenses and ND filter. Like, I mean, it's an incredible image.
Yeah, it's a great camera. I mean, we did the first several shorts with the FX3.
Yeah.
And then Owen went pretentious mode and got a red, but whatever. Cool, good
Was it a
enough.
Komodo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a good deal on it too. I wanted to use the I wanted to use the R3D. And I also just think there is not to go pretentious, but like the FX3 isn't a real cinema camera in the true sense.
Yeah, sure.
It is a mirrorless camera, and like realistically any camera can be a cinema camera, of course, but like I wanted some of the tools and some of the capabilities that the Red had. Yeah. And it also just seemed like kind of a logical stepping stone. Of course, looking back now, I did not, because there's the old saying of like, max out your camera before buying the next one. Like get to that camera's full capabilities.
Right.
I didn't do that.
Yeah. You were like with this red GC.
Yeah, I was saying a long time ago, I just started grading under the conversion LUT like 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
which
Yeah.
is like,
to be fair, you don't need, like, I mean, people exaggerate the importance of conversion LUTs, I think.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
you have flat footage that you need to correct, but
yeah. I mean, I use the CSTs now instead of that, but yeah, it's like I just felt like it was the time to try entering the actual cinema camera world.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it just depends on so many things. I've seen a lot of footage and edited a lot of footage from Arri Alexa Mini, and it's not that far out of the ballpark of what the FX3 can do. As far as a unit that you're using on set, obviously, like the way you use that camera is not the same as the FX3. But for indie filmmaking, dude, I'm like, this FX3 is like dope, because it's like you don't have to focus too much on that element. You obviously have to know what you're doing and maximize that use of the camera, but the camera is not the point. So that's really cool. I think red strikes more of splits the difference maybe a bit. Like I don't think the Komodo's that like crazy or like
it's not.
Yeah, it's usable. Obviously, like when you're shooting on set with an Alexa, you kind of want like an operator. You know what I mean? Like I'm not touching that thing all that much.
Yeah, it's also interesting though, because Alexa's the menu system is like so simple too. It almost just like they want it to be dumbed down as much as possible to have a completely frictionless operation.
Yeah, it's a good place to be in.
Yeah.
Like, I think for like the type of films I make, like the FX3, it strikes the happy medium. It's affordable. A lot of cinema cameras are getting affordable. Even the Komodo, I feel like they keep dropping it in price now.
Yeah.
Sorry about your like car investment, but
Komodo is less than the FX3 now.
Yeah. I mean, but then you get the whole like red atmosphere of stuff, the SSDs and all that. That's honestly maybe the main reason I've stuck. Like, I shot with a red one actually. That was cool.
Oh, the red one.
That has like maybe one of the cooler looks to me of like the red cameras. It's just like it's softer. It's more my style. You guys know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's reasons behind that. Even I have like a cool hypothesis about the film grain thing, because when you say read a book, right? it's like very vivid. You're kind of going through the pages and your mind is like kind of taking control. That's what, like, film can't really do that. But a way to give yourself the power back, or the audience back, is by producing films that in some way is vivid. So, like abstractions and whatnot, they let you come to different conclusions about what the film is. So that's what's dope to me about film grain, is you're literally abstracting, even in the most minute of levels, the film. So you're kind of, in a small way, subconsciously reminding people that you're watching something that's not real. You know, it's a film. And then there's like something called micro visual rhythm, people say, which can happen like a shot, say like you have a tree moving in the wind. You're applying micro visual rhythm to the whole film. It's alive.
Yeah.
So that coinciding with the gear stuff, those aesthetic details should be choices that you make for the particular film, and doesn't work for every film.
Yeah.
But yeah, my work is like, obviously you guys know from having me color grade your guys' stuff, is like more attuned to like fitting the film look, because you know, it's just different on every project.
Yeah. Would you ever shoot with film if you could?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no reason, like, unless I got a lot of money, like there's no reason for me to be shooting with it right now. Like, I mean, maybe some 8mm, but like 8mm is so far into the revealing of the apparatus. Like, it's like, oh, this is like chunky film.
Right.
16mm is where it starts to like.
Yeah.
But even that, like, you're very aware that this is film. Like, the grain is fat.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
35mm is like, obviously, it's really super 35mm.
Yeah.
Where Hollywood begins, basically. But film is cool.
70 mil
cool.
IMAX film.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very affordable.
for sure.
Yeah, great for indie filmmakers.
I shot the last film with 70mm, low key. But yeah, film is dope, and I try to emulate a lot of those aspects of it without like trying to be like a film impersonator. You know what I mean? There's a reason why I'm trying to make it look that way, because I think it has an effect that's different than just like clean visuals. It certainly has a different effect on me. I'm not like, I've edited so many like corporate and like real estate type videos that I'm like so sick of just a clean image, and it can look like real life or whatever, you know, kind of, I guess, but I'm good.
Yeah. No, I like what you said about making it feel alive, because it definitely just makes it more, there's a lot more chaos going on. It's like, because it is kind of like random, you know, it is sort of a get the fuck out of here fly, whatever the hell that gnat. Yeah, no, it makes it just I feel like it makes it very nostalgic too. And I think your film is very much playing on nostalgia, like, obviously, if you watch it and you don't get that, then you didn't watch the film. So, but like, yeah, no, I think that, like, I think for your film especially, I think it like really served the like theme was to, or it really served the theme to use a film emulation.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's good to like deconstruct the film emulation, not just like throwing filters on there. It's like how much halation and bloom, and one of the most underrated parts is like the gate weave, where the gate just jitters a little bit. If you watch like, I don't know, an old like Conan the Barbarian, or just like these old sci-fi or you know, 80s movies, you just see with the credits just that little
slight, very slight. Yeah.
Gosh, man.
It is kind of cool. That stuff is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I would imagine, I actually no, I'm not 100% certain, but I would imagine that back then, as they're making it and as they do it, it was just an imperfection that came with the medium.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of the time that stuff is not intentional, but as we get like, obviously with the gearhead stuff, like more and more refined, I think, and a lot of people realize that we are losing something. We are losing something that like is very human about and magical about the art form is the imperfections. So I'm like a big lover of that type of stuff. Anyway, like the Canon FD lenses, for example, it's like those are not perfect lenses. They get soft if you like blow them up or whatever, like shoot light at them. You know, they have weird flares, and bokeh I'm just like, yeah, that's my stuff right there. It's because it's not reality, and tons of older theorists like I think Arnheim was one of them, like warned of like films that are like trying to be reality and how like problematic that is, because you're like having someone so immersed into something that they're giving up their power. I don't want you to give yourself up to my movies, you know what I mean? Like there's something that you can mess around with and play with and like maintain your own well-being and like independence for my film. That's why like fourth wall stuff is dope. Because to me, because it's reminding you this is not real. That's very important to me, to where you're not too like immersion's cool, but when it becomes your whole thing and you're just like, I don't know, you lose independence, I don't think that's like good. And I think at the very least it's an interesting experience to be in a theater and to be reminded that, oh, I'm in a theater. Like
I'm watching a idea that sprouted from this director's brain.
Exactly. And it reminds you of the importance of that, as opposed to just AI, which like you could like one day there'll be an AI film that like you could totally be immersed in. It's like you're immersed in a computer now. It's not good. So it's called. People talk about it as the knowledge effect. That's like some cahiers du cinema, French New Wave stuff, but the knowledge effect is like something I love playing around with. It's just, you know, reminding people of the apparatus and the film. It gives the audience power, which I think is a good thing, especially as like almost the intention of like newer films or like Hollywood stuff is like to rip it away from you. So I don't know.
Yeah, because you view it more as like filmmaking is like a film is like an experience as opposed to like a thing you should like get like maybe you should be invested somewhat, obviously. But because you don't want someone to like be like, this is a movie. Like the whole time they're just like, this is not real. This is not like, you know, you want them to like be able to be in that world, feel what the characters are feeling, but then to also realize that like they are experiencing it separate from the characters. They aren't the characters. They're just people observing what you're showing them.
Voyeur.
Yeah, exactly. They're creeps.
I think, basically. And I think that's a super cool aspect to it, because, you know, you're just words are fun. But what's great is when you set the audience expectations to be immersed in a film, and then you like walk it back. That's like a cool, it's like a one-liner trick in a way that you're doing on a large scale, because people are just feeling comfortable in what they're used to with Hollywood, and then reminded of their own free will. It's more powerful than some of the video art stuff, which I really like, or like experimental films, which are all about just like, you know, showing what the apparatus does, which is like cool thought stuff, but isn't like fully what I'm enveloped in.
Right.
There's some really I would encourage like people trying to get better as filmmakers to look at experimental and like really at the edge of video art stuff. Like some of my favorite films are called flicker films. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but it's just flickering. It's literally flickering. And some people, obviously, like if you have epilepsy, it's not for you.
Right.
But you're seeing literally how film and the apparatus changes your perception. Because when you're in the room, it's like being at those like middle school dance parties and they do the flashers and you're like looking at your hands and it's like 12 FPS.
Right.
You know, your literal visual perception is being changed by the film itself. So understand that power for sure and try to give it back, especially if you're making bunkum.
And if you're epileptic, Kyle wants you to go see this.
Yeah. I literally have a warning at the beginning of For Old Time's Sake, because there's, it's not a flicker film, but there's
intense sequences.
Yeah, and it's meant to be that way. I want that effect of like,
How long did that take to like the post production of all that? That seems very intense.
We had deadlines, so like we had, but that was one way I got around like the 12-hour shooting thing, is I set aside aside time to shoot the transfers because they're analog transfers. So we take the footage for like the VHS stuff and it goes into a VCR. It's recorded onto VHS tape and then we shoot it on a CRTV.
Oh, cool.
And then for the kind of glitchy abstract stuff, we have called a video synthesizer. Shout out to Mikey Mortonio, my art director. And that literally pulls and severs the image in specific ways. So like the luma, chroma, and all that stuff. And then what's cool about CRTVs is like they have to stabilize the image because they're just getting all these like, I don't know, science photons shoved at the screen. So you can like pull the horizontal axis and see it like stretch and like the luma pixels are like pulling and making zebras and stuff like that. And that's not expensive. You don't need a VFX house to do that.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it takes time to shoot too because you're shooting it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe at most a month, and that's like doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But after you get the real analog work, it's just about editing, like editing anything else. And how quick you want things to transfer. And there's some like After Effects and stuff like that. Like
did you do the VFX yourself? Because obviously there's one big effect in it, with a TV.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Mikey was involved with like the glitching stuff, and I had an editor. But as far as like the more complicated VFX shots, I was just pulling all-nighters, 2 a.m. and I don't even have a fast computer. Like, dude, my computer was chugging, bro. It was like a steam engine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made it work. So it's really like you set yourself up knowing the effects too. I'm not like a huge VFX obsessive dude, but like if you have an effect, like know how it's gonna work. Create masks of the stuff and plates, and then make sure your lighting's all good and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, I have a question for you. I want you to roast us on air. Obviously, you co-created a film, study people for a living. What did you think about the film as a whole? Obviously, it's not done, no color, of course. I mean, by the time you were done with it, yes, but like no sound design, no music.
Yeah.
But from what you gathered, what do you think of the film?
Well, roasting on air, bro.
I didn't sign up for this shit.
Fuck you, it's happening.
All right.
Or glazing. Who knows?
Well, I haven't really. I've watched the footage, obviously, but I haven't seen the film because I haven't seen the sound.
Sure.
And that's like huge, dude.
That's
that
true.
will make or break a sequence, a film. When you're making a film like this, obviously, if you're making a silent film, it's a different ball game. So I don't feel I have too much authority there. But what some of the really cool stuff, which I almost want to like see if I can move into my feature, is like the dolly stuff that you guys do, which is very like using the visual techniques of Hollywood and like very well. I needed to look more into dolly stuff because I like a lot of that stuff. In my like safe space is just to like make really good compositions and get on sticks. I'm not afraid of movement. Like I have handheld stuff and maybe a gimbal here and there, but dude, like dollies are sick, and you guys use that well, and you guys have used it well on the set I was on previously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like the visual techniques are like very good. So just keep making films. Ultimately is like the reality of it. And like if you can take less pressure off yourself to make a film, like, and not like put everything on this film or whatever, or like too much money into it, it'll give you access to like being able to make them more and more and more.
Yeah, it's gonna be a day because we actually have another one that we're scheduled to do in like a little over a week. It's just a script that Jake wrote. He concepted it and finished it in like an hour.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, I was like in my room. I was like, oh, I should write a script, and I didn't concept it. I concepted it earlier, like right. several months ago.
Yeah.
And then I just sat down with it, wrote it in like less than an hour, and then I've done a couple drafts since then, but And this one's a lot more. This one's a lot more of a short, like a short film. Like it is like going to be a couple minutes, less than 10. It's going to be super fast paced, and it has a very like strange concept. I mean, the core of it is like, it's called finger guns, and the core of it is if someone goes boom, and then it actually kills the person that he shoots, and so then he's like, oh, what the fuck, and then that's like the story of that.
That's such a great like short film premise.
Yeah, exactly. And then so, yeah, I mean, with that one, that's the one we're doing soon, but I'm losing my train of thought. Why did you bring up?
Oh yeah, that we're just hopping back into it. We're just like, because
go right back in, dude.
Yeah, because this
Finish
last
the film.
one was our biggest production we've done. I think there was a total of 6 shoot days. Over like a little over a month, like over over about a month and a week. And that was just like takes a lot out of you.
Bring it up and then bring it down, because you can be. I've shot films that are more abstract. I did one called You Have to Go, which is like super abstract, like photo book piece. I didn't have anyone. It was just me and my friend who doesn't make films in an FX3, and then sound design and all this type of stuff. So yeah, just keep making them, and they can vary in scale. But yeah, what's cool that like idea for a short film, it falls kind of into this one-liner structure, which is like a joke. I mean, it is like a joke. It's like something as simple as that, like a one-liner, a setup and a change. That's a complete idea that you can tell within a couple minutes. So the way to stay away from like trying to tell features and shorts is to take some inspiration from some of those structures. Another one is like a repeated idea. So which is, For Old Time's Sake, has that in it big time. A setup of a certain concept, which you might even not really be thinking about at first. And then it returns in a way that's like, oh, there's actually a concept here. And then it feels like it ends because you're returning to something. So big writing thing with short films is like, if you can find structures, it will make life so much easier. Even if I don't think something has a structure, I try to like rationalize how it could work within a structure, and sometimes it makes it way better.
Yeah, and that's also a good point too. Is just like, you just keep making them. Even if the next one you have is like a bit of a lower concept. Like there's no, like, that's the thing I was thinking of too. I was like, oh, it kind of feels weird to go from like a 17-minute film with like, like 5 or however many different characters it has in it to like one that just has like 3 or 4 characters, and that's only going to be like, maybe like 7 minutes long. Like I felt like a little bit like is it a good use of time? But I mean, I think so, because the alternative is just not doing a film.
Right. The challenge of short films is the opposite of features, where you're worried about like, oh, is this enough characters? The challenge for shorts should be, is this too much?
Yeah.
Even with like the edit, like going down from 16 minutes, it was too much stuff. You know what I mean? So if you're writing a script and you have 5 characters and you can get down to like 3, and the idea, the story, and the characters are still there, do it. Like, it will just make your life easier. There's less actors to deal with, and it makes the short film better because you have like less stuff to like, I don't know, like as an audience member being introduced to like 8 characters in like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
You can have people looming in the film, like there's other characters in For Old Time's Sake, for instance, but they hardly have any dialogue. Their dialogue is them like bickering and talking shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about them, and that's one of the differences between the short and the feature, is it will be about everyone. So that's good to hear. That's the right place to be in.
Exactly. Just keep making them.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, on that note, if anybody wants to find you, your work, how they can support the feature of Old Time's Sake, where can they do that?
So the social media stuff is at K Miller Films. You've got the YouTube channel, Instagram, obviously, and then the most important thing, I think I've explained how personal it is and how important it is, and how I think it can have an impact on this art form in a greater setting and greater means. For oldtimesakemovie.com, there'll be a ton of stuff there. We're trying to introduce like maybe some merch and stuff like that, just for
Mhm.
fun, as a way to support the film. But yeah, we'll credit people for being donors, especially with a feature and having all those credits. It's nice. So you will be a part of this kind of hopefully new way of thinking about indie film. I don't want to like put myself on a pedestal or anything like that, but yeah, I want to shoot this film very differently than we're used to and provide an alternative to Hollywood. So if you want that, for oldtimesakemovie.com is the place to be.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll throw all those links in the description as well. So if
Wonderful.
anyone's curious, they can
course.
just
It's the
scroll
best.
down, or yeah, I guess scroll down on computer or phone. I guess it's
Yeah.
scrolling.
Yeah, it's a website's on both.
Yeah, if you want to check me out, I am at owencard.dp on Instagram. Be in the description as well. Jake, where are you?
I am at Jake Rossbell on Instagram, and make sure to check out our last episode that we referenced, the film roles. We explain a bunch of them, and they are quite extensive, I guess.
Yeah, and then you do, of course, do all the YouTube bullshit, like, comment, subscribe, and check that episode out. And if you don't, unsubscribe.
Yeah, and dislike.
You're dead to us. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching.
Boom.
Boom, money.
Sick.